Hi, today I wanted to talk to you about curiosity, experimenting, and failure. And these aren't concepts that I am familiar with putting into practice. They are great concepts to talk about and to tell other people to do. But when it comes to actually implementing it in your own life, it can be a little bit more challenging. And particularly, as an accountant, I like to make sure that I know what's going on, that I have the blueprint or the checklist, whatever it is, that I know what the plan is, where we're going, what the result will be before we've even got to the end, know what the expectations are. And I've really struggled, and I still struggle with this whole concept of being willing to fail, because failure was never really an option growing up. That failure, making mistakes, was a failure, and it wasn't acceptable. You had to get it right. And that has really been one of my things that has driven me to always know what the outcome was going to be. And I spoke about overwhelm, and part of my issue with overwhelm is there's so much to do, and I get stuck and not willing to take action because there's so many options. And I'm now having to be curious, be willing to experiment, be willing to make mistakes, and see what happens, see what works for me, knowing that whatever I do today may not be the same solution for me tomorrow, that I may have to experiment and come up with a different option tomorrow for what may be the same exercise. And that's all part of life, that's all part of running a business, and it's also all part of dealing with your money. There are no set in concrete rules that we can follow. There are some basic instructions of what we can have, but we really have to find out what are our own rules. How do we want to spend our money? How do we want to live? What is important to us? What are our priorities? And from that, make up our rules about how we want to even earn money. It's not just a case of how we spend money. How do we want to put our energy out there to be able to be open to receiving money? Because there's a lot of things we can do which may not fit with our values. There may be expectations of us that we are not willing to meet, and we have to be willing to stand up and honor those values that we have. How much time we want to invest in working. And these values and rules can change over our lifetime. What may be a rule when we are single may be very different to a rule when we get in a relationship and we have a partner. When our relationship changes and we have children, when our children have left the nest, when we're retiring, if we have aging parents, depending on our children and what their needs are. These rules can all change, and it takes a willingness to review them and change them as need be, so that we can live the best life that we want. And sometimes it requires failure, and I've made many money mistakes. Being an accountant does not make one immune to making money mistakes and making wrong decisions, because sometimes, based on the information that we had, the decision we made at that time was the right decision. But things can change, and we suddenly decide that whatever we decided wasn't the right thing to do, and we now need to make a different decision, and we need to change things. So having that willingness to stay curious, be willing to experiment, be willing to get it wrong, and when you get it wrong, don't sit in that self-pity and go, oh, my world's come to an end, I've lost some money, what do I do now, woe is me. Just learn from it and make sure you don't make the same mistake again, and be willing to do things differently the next time. Till next time, bye.